Welcome to my top 100. It's Roy Cannaday from Epic Gaming Night, and we're continuing my top 100. Today we're going to be looking at number 80 to 71. We keep climbing higher and higher, chipping away at this top 100 list. And thank you so much for joining me as we go all the way to the top of my favorite games. So let's get to the list. My number 80 is Lords of Waterdeep. This is a great worker placement game set in the Dungeons & Dragons Waterdeep universe where you're putting workers out on the different places, trying to get different heroes that you can use to go out on quest that get you victory points. There's the secret roles of your different leaders and that you're trying to get extra points in different ways. It's super exciting as you're building buildings and hoping that your opponents will go to those buildings so you get extra resources. Lots of interesting stuff going on in this worker placement, and that's why it is my number 80, Lords of Waterdeep. My number 79 is Masmorra. This is a take that dungeon crawl where you have all these cool miniatures for your heroes, but all the monsters are these big chunky dice that you roll to see which monster shows up. There's all sorts of different monsters they could be as you're running around the dungeon trying to get experience points, casting spells and different things to mess up your opponents. Lots of take that, lots of silly fun. It feels like King of Tokyo mixed with Wiz War sort of thing. So my number 79 is Masmorra. I love real-time games, and my number 78 is a crazy real-time game called Falling. This is a game where you have a dealer dealing out cards, and the version I have is goblins, and your goblin's falling to the ground, but you want to be the goblin who hits the ground last. You're dealing out the cards in real time, and players are trying to play the right cards to make it show that they don't get the ground card. It's very quick, very fast paced, always super frantic, and I always have a ton of fun. I like to deal out this game mostly and just see the other players play it and try to figure out what they need to do to try to like skip them or reverse this thing over there. It's lots of fun in real time, and that's why my number 78 is Falling. My number 77 is Letters from Whitechapel. This is a game where one person is Jack the Ripper trying to go out and take out the different pawns, and then the other players are the police officers trying to track him down. Hidden movement, and you're going around like trying to figure out how to sneak through the village, and the police officers are working together trying to figure out how to corner them and trap him and figure out where he's traced and where his like home base is. So you're running around trying to find all these different things. Very exciting hidden movement game, and that's why my number 77 is Letters from Whitechapel. My number 76 is Pandemic Legacy. This is just like Pandemic where you're running around trying to cure disease, but they added all kinds of story in there. You get to name your characters, you have to work together as all sorts of crazy things are popping up, opening packages, writing on boards, putting stickers down. I don't want to give out any spoilers, but it's a legacy game, so there's all sorts of different things that you do to the game that you can't turn back from. And those decisions that you have to make are what makes this game exciting. So my number 76 is Pandemic Legacy. My number 75 is London Dread. This is another real-time game, but it has programming where you're working together as a team, trying to program the clock, running around London, trying to find the different plots and minimize your dread and work together as a team to make sure your character's going to the right icons that hey, can take care of the different threats in the different areas. And then you get to the end game, trying to collect as many dice as you can to be able to beat the antagonist. It's a ton of fun and very frantic. So my number 75, London Dread. I love superheroes. I'm a big fan of Marvel movies and Marvel comics, and I also like DC superheroes as well. So my number 74 is a game where you can smash those together, and that is Heroclix. This is a miniatures game where you're playing on a grid with different characters that as they take damage, you click their bases and they can change their abilities. Like Hulk will start out weak and get stronger, and different characters will have all sorts of different things that are very thematic to their characters. I used to play tons of tournaments of this game and had a pretty big collection, and it's always been a blast to play in tournaments or casually, so that's why my number 74 is Heroclix. My number 73 is the Dungeons & Dragons Conquest of Nerath game. This is a great Risk-like game where you have dudes on a map who are fighting over areas. You really need 4 players to play this game, but I like that you get resources and you get to pick which type of units you want. You can go down in dungeons to fight different characters, and you're playing as a team, good against evil, trying to knock out your opponents. So Conquest of Nerath is a great area control dudes on a map game, and that's why it's my number 73. My number 72 is probably my most played game in my entire board game collection, and that is Love Letter. This is the game that started the micro retro game craze. And it's a great game. I take it out to lunches and play with it at work with other people, take it out to dinners and play with it with different people. It's great, simple game with only 16 cards where you're trying to knock the other players out or at the end of the game have the highest card in your hand. It's very simple and kind of a crazy theme. They've rethemed it in all sorts of different things. So I played it from when it first came out, and I love Love Letter, and that's why it's my number 72. My number 71 is a great game if you want to yell at your friends, and that's The Resistance. This is a game where one or multiple players are spies as you're playing the game, and there's different agents who are trying to figure out who the spies are, because the spies are trying to fail missions, and then you're trying to get the good guys to go on the missions so that they can pass the missions. And everybody's doing this social deduction thing, trying to figure out who's good, figure out who's evil, figure out the way different people are voting that are making you get those subtle clues of who is on what side. This game is always crazy, being like, no, don't send him. Oh my goodness, you gotta add me on the team. Come on, guys. And I've had a ton of great experiences with The Resistance, and it's definitely a great way to get your friends excited about gaming. So my number 71 is The Resistance. Thanks so much for checking out my top 100. Board games are awesome. Make sure to leave in the comments down below if I've talked about a game that you've never heard about before, or if there's a game that you'd really like to see a review on. So make sure to join me on the rest of my journey to my very favorite games in my top 100, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.